What is up, everyone? CPAT here with another Exceed commentary, and today we have another Chimera Summer Bash match. Of course, between the boy migohunter, of course, and Kugath, aka Thanos. Migohunter will be on the red side, Kugath will be on the blue side, and characters have already been chosen. Mulligans have already been had. We are going to see the Gordeau from migohunter. I think this is the first time we're actually seeing Gordeau in tournament against the Polar. So if we take a look at Gordeau's UA, we can look at that smug smile and pair it with the UA. We've got a little bit of a mean man here. Strike, your attack has hit, the opponent must discard a card. So obviously, like in the rest of Season 6, all UAs are now elective. You can't pair them with now strike boosts. We see migohunter just prepare on the Gordeau. But Gordeau's definitely a character. You can't really tell what kind of character Gordeau would be just by looking at this, but we see here he has two mid-speed shapes, a 1-3-6 at advance 5, and a precise aim a little bit under curve. So we're going to see the Shattering Stomp boosted from Polar. Of course, Kugath from the Polar places Ice Spikes on the board, and then can remove them for +2 power. Can place up to 2 spikes down with the Shattering Stomp. Very, very strong boost for Polar. Looks like the second one's going to be placed at range 1 from Polar as like anti-dive tech, anti-air dash tech. Pretty good here. And of course, as a hit effect, they can be removed for +2 power on front side, +3 power on backside. Polar's got some brawly cards. He's got a Super Spike, or Super Sweep, excuse me. He's got the Spike-like Ultras. He's got one for Ice Spikes / rebuild. He's got a block Ultra. He's got a DP with 0 power, but of course can be amplified. He's got this Assault Shape 1-3-5, pretty mediocre, but the boost is very good. And then this Force Special that can get up to 8 power. So we're going to see Migo boost EX, Superior, excuse me. His next attack will be EX. Of course, a Season 6 character. Season 6 has new boosts. I'm sure if this is not the first video you're watching, you've heard me say that every single time. Take a look at Gordeau's kit. As we were doing before, we have 2 mid-speeds here, close range. We have 2 fireballs. So the mid-speeds actually kind of count combo into the fireballs, I guess, because one mid-speed is a push, one mid-speed is an advance, and then they combo into these fireballs. Gordeau has 3 ultras, notably Soul Exodus. He only has 1 copy of. Anyway, it looks like Polar Knight setting a strike here against an EX, so this feels like maybe a Polar Plow. If Polar's feeling spicy, could go for the Shovel Drop as well. The card with 5 abilities on it. One of those involves advancing 2 or 3, so that also hits. And of course we are looking at Dive from Polar as well, or it could be a bait trying to force Migo to come in. But I do expect it to be the Polar Plow. It performs pretty well here. Does 7 power and hits full board. You can't cross out of it either if you're Migo, although I do not expect that to happen. This actually kind of looks like a little bit of a tough match for Gordeau. Polar just has good red numbers, right? His power is just really good. I'm not sure if Migo's going to be able to, or if Gordeau's going to be able to withstand that, but we'll see here, huh? So we see Migo will have the 5-speed Polar Slide, and it's going to be the very risky Shovel Drop here. So Mortal Slide will pull Polar to range 1 where that Shovel Drop will miss. Mortal Slide will be a 3 power attack. Notably, this was initiated by Polar. So, yep. Oh wait, opponents cannot move you. What the? Okay. Opponents cannot move you in Shovel Drop, I guess. I forgot about that. I stated that this card has 5 abilities, and I forgot that one. Ignore armor. Opponents can't move you before place an Ice Spike in your space, then advance 2 or 3. So the pull 4 actually doesn't work out here. So actually this was a direct counter to Gordeau's Fireballs, which both have pull on them, Grim Reaper and Mortal Slide. And of course, we're going to see Polar's after go off as well. So yeah, Polar just executes like 6 abilities there. 7 actually. He ignores armor. Opponents cannot move you. Before, place an ice spike in your space. Advance 2 or 3. Hit push pull 1. Hit remove an ice spike in the opponent's space for plus 2 power. After, place an ice spike onto an unoccupied space within this attack's range. Yeah, that is 7 abilities that Polar executed on his turn. We're gonna see the Snatcher come out from Migo. So Season 6 does not have parry, but Gordeau has Snatcher. Take a look at the opponent's hand. If you did, choose a card and discard it, and then draw 1. So we're going to see a hand of Shovel Drop, Spike, Block, Shovel Charge, Sweep. So potential reading threat here would be available for migohunter on his next turn. As the Sweep gets discarded, normally Migo wrote 0-2. I hope that's just messing up, because it's actually 0-3 charge and drop. And that Spike is obviously super readable here at range 1. Will pretty much always miss. So I wonder if this means either a parry focus, or parry dive, excuse me, comes out for Polar Knight. Of course, Gordeau, Season 6 character, has his reading on dive. Or if we see just a simple change cards action, because right now this Spike is super exploitable. Gordeau won't get the UA on it, notably, because he will be boosting reading to strike, so will not get the elective action. But still a threat here, maybe for Gordeau to play like a sweep, for example, deal 6 damage, discard a card, and Gordeau would be looking pretty good there, building a second gauge as well on top of that. Anyway, back to Kugath here. Again, the hand was 0-3, Shovel Drop, and Charge. What is Charge? Okay, it's Migo fixes the error there. Oh, Charges, of course, that card. We're going to see the parry come out, but however, the parry will be on Mortal Glide, which hits. Migo does have a chance to now read that Spike if he so desires. Or not, so if he so desires, if he has the reading in hand, of course. It looks like Migo doesn't have the reading, because he's not mashing it here. Gordeau will just be initiating a strike here with the UA. Not the best looking hand there, aside from the top deck, because Charge will miss. Charge is a speed 5, which is super undercurve. Drop will miss. And of course, Spike will also miss. So Kugath on the top deck here is going to be the Shovel Drop, which will catch the Mortal Glide. Wow, that is super well read for Shovel. So Shovel predicting that Gordeau would get out of there, and Shovel Drop will chase. Wow. So this is going to be a 3-power Mortal Glide. Gordeau will deal 2 damage, of course, to the armor. Then an Ice Spike will be placed down. And Polar will be advancing to here. We'll pull Migo onto the Ice Spike and remove it for another 5 power. Wow. And then, of course, will be placed down after the fact. So 2 early Shovel Drops hitting for Polar here, as Migo does have a resource advantage here, but Polar has taken an early life lead here. And of course, the 7th trigger is that the Ice Spike will be placed behind. Gordeau, of course, gains advantage off the Mortal Glide, so this will be another UA strike here from Polar, or from Gordeau, excuse me. No Mortal Glides left, weirdly enough. Expect this to just be like a slow. It's actually a fast. It's actually a grasp. Okay. So Migo just trying to go for guaranteed value here with the UA. Grasp will beat the Wild Swing Cross. Polar will have to discard another card from his hand. Discards the 2nd copy of Spike, I believe. So the last card in the hand of Polar is going to be the Shovel Charge at speed 5. As Migo pushes Polar into the corner. Back to Polar here. Only 1 card. We'll surely have to prepare here. No, actually boosts the Shattering Stomp, so wants to play super aggressive here. Places the Ice Spike onto Gordeau. Does have the opportunity to move an Ice Spike. Notably, when you place an Ice Spike, you can also move them. Shovel Drop Charge gets boosted there, removing the Ice Spike from underneath Polar and placing one underneath Gordeau as well. Back to Gordeau here. Polar playing the top deck, but of course, here's the threat here. We're going to see Advance or Retreat 2 if you have more cards in hand than the opponent. Take another action. Gordeau standing in the middle of this ice field here. What will the second action be? Second action will be Prepare, so just Retreat 2, Prepare. Gives Polar time to prepare, so yeah, he will do so. Back to Migo here. Range 4 again. Fireball range for Gordeau. Both shovel drops now down, so this Migo doesn't have to worry about that. Although he's already eaten 10 damage for them. Okay, Migo will prepare again. Back to Kugath here. I expect Kugath to prepare one more time. And there it is. Back to Migo. We'll take a look at the fireballs here while we're at it. Gordeau has 3 attacks out here. One's the Rusty Nail, which was boosted. One is the Grim Reaper, 4-3-4, hit pull 2. And one's the Mortal Slide, hit pull 4 after range 1, gain advantage. Migo shuffling his hand, flipping a card like he's going to strike, and will strike, of course, with the Gordeau action. Notably, the Gordeau action, just in case you guys did not catch it, the opponent must discard a card, but they get to choose what card to discard. So it's not a full sweep effect, but they still do have to discard a card. It is of their choice, however. We're going to be seeing the Rusty Nail into the Polar Plow. So Rusty Nail will hit first for 3 damage. Second Rusty Nail down for Migo. Notably, will hit for 3 damage. Polar Plow will hit back for 2. Because if we take a look at that passive, -1 power for each Ice Spike played between you and the opponent. Looks like Gordeau will discard a dive for that. Migo will take 2 damage back. And Polar will close 3. And place an Ice Spike down, but he can just pick one up and place one down, so it's actually totally fine. Maybe he wants to reposition an Ice Spike, though. Actually does. Places the Ice Spike 3 spaces behind Migo. So now if Migo attempts to cross out, Gordeau will still be on an Ice Spike. However, Migo can respect to the short side of the board to avoid this if he wants on his turn. Looks like we're going to have Polar Exceed, however. Take a look at Polar Exceed. When you exceed, place Ice Spikes onto 3 different spaces. Notably, this is the second way that Polar can place an Ice Spike directly under an opponent in neutral. And if we take a look at that after, now that after has become optional for some reason. Just Season 4 jank. And hit, you may remove an Ice Spike from the opponent's place for +3 power. And we're going to see Ice Spike maneuvering there. It looks like we've called it here for Kugath. Back to Gordeau. Ice Spike at range 2 on the other side from Polar. And then just the long run of Ice Spikes onto and behind him. So +3 power is just does some wonky stuff with hitting certain breakpoints. So this Succeed is like so good. And of course, on top of that, you have the ability to place an Ice Spike underneath the opponent as well. See a expenditure of 2 force to cross over to range 1. Migo really saying, okay, don't want to deal with the Ice Spikes. Notably, he can be pushed or pulled onto an Ice Spike. So we're probably going to see Gordeau attempt to strike with a focus here for that reason. Or defend with a focus for that reason, excuse me. Looks like Polar actually checking the discards here. Maybe thinking of a reading play? Migo's hand is full. We don't really know what is inside it. Really, he hasn't really telegraphed anything as far as what is inside his hand. So weird. This art makes Polar look like a little person, doesn't it? He looks so cute. He's a little baby man. This art makes him look significantly larger. Is that, who's the guy getting beat up? I don't know. Reading does come out here from Polar. Reading misses. We see a reveal of 1, 2, 3 Grim block, or 0, 1, 2, 3 Grim Turbulence Mortal Slide. I'm assuming this is going to be Migo just responding with the focus. I'm assuming it's maybe like a read on like an assault, and then play Grasp is what I'm guessing the reading would be from Polar, something like that. So a lot of normals here, but unfortunately Kugath did not pick the correct one. So the intuition on the reading was definitely good from him, or them, excuse me. I gotta get better at that. Reading was Dive. Oh, okay, so this telegraphs a fast from... This definitely telegraphs a fast from Kugath. Because obviously Dive means that anything slower would miss. So if this telegraphs a fast, then we're looking at either a Stomp, or something of that nature. So I fully expect Migo to respond here with focus. Always shuffle your hand after doing this. Migo will be doing that. I'm assuming red for replaces combat card. Yep, and here's the focus. And it is the Stomp. So Stomp will hit first, deals 0 damage. Can gain advantage here if Stomp wants to remove an Ice Spike. Kugath will do just that. Remove the Ice Spike to gain advantage, and then we'll place it down as an after, which is now optional, of course. Places it directly behind Gordeau, of course, because I can't place it anywhere else. And the focus will hit back for 4 and draw Migo a card. We know that hand is 1, 2, 3 Mortal Slide, Turbulence, and Reaper, Grim Reaper, which is the other fireball shape. Polar, with his advantage, will just prepare back to Migo here. I believe Polar has 1 reading left in his deck. Decent chance of having it. We see the blowback. Push 1 or 2, then strike. Let's see. It looks like it's gonna be a push 1, then strike. What was in Migo's hand? Looks like, I think Migo's playing his top deck. Top deck cross, perhaps, is the telegraph here. Could always be mixing it up with the spike, but I don't think Migo's playing a spike here. Blowback, of course, on the Grim Reaper. So the hand is 0, 2, 3 Mortal Slide, Turbulence, and an unknown card. And the unknown card is the Precise Aim. Unfortunately, it will be met by the second Stomp, so Stomp will go first, push 2, and hit for 0 damage. Precise Aim will then miss. That's a weird one. Second DP goes down for Polar. Pretty humorous though, I'd have to say. Range 4 now, where Migo has a speed 5 option in the Turbulence. Turbulence, however, does have a weird close 3 property on it. Close 3 would place him directly on the Ice Spike. So we could perhaps see a fake strike from Polar come out. A fake strike, of course, being playing a card that doesn't hit, although Polar does have a card that hits and will also hit at 1 in the Polar Plow. Back to Migo here. Man, that's funny that the Stomp does 0 damage and yet Gordeau misses. That's too funny. Migo taking a look at his own discard. I don't think he's quite ready for a reshuffle yet. Missing like a cross, missing a bunch of normals actually. Is Kugath tracking cards? Kugath is actually tracking cards, so we can actually take a look here. So it's one of these 3 specials left. Has a bunch of ultras. We're going to see a CC3 come out, assuming that's dropping all the normals. So that will be a block down, a sweep down, and a spike down to CC3 and draw 4. Insulate from the reading for now. However, Amigo did just draw a fresh batch of cards off that, so maybe those can be read if Polar is willing to do so. Back to Polar here. We see the run come out from Polar, notably only to range 2. We see this lovely art here. Back to Migo, who's got a long line of ice spikes in front of him. He's standing on the only empty spot for now. As we said before, Polar has lots of ways to push or pull. Card we're looking at, for example, a Shovel Slam. EX Shovel Slam actually available. Although Shovel Slam wouldn't actually put Migo onto an ice spike, funnily enough. Would just be the Grasp. Migo now taking the time to look at his opponent's discard. Very important to do. We actually saw that needing to happen maybe in the last match. I don't remember the last match that I casted earlier today, if it was some other match. But always be cognizant of your opponent's options. We're going to see the Godlike come out. Plus 2 power after. If your attack hit, you may spend 2 gauge to sustain this. So Polar is down both stomps, which means, of course, Reach also down. Polar has a cross left at speed 6, I believe. But out of fast options beside that. Wait, might have EX Assault actually. We're gonna see that matched with the light plus 2 speed. Migo down a block, so it doesn't have a tech hit. Or doesn't have 1 copy of tech hit. Could have the 2nd copy. Of course, tech hit, the boost on block, discard a boost in play, then strike. Plus 2 speed's pretty scary to deal with, though. If Migo moves to range 1, then he's dealing with an Ice Spike at range 1 as well. Without a block either in hand. So that's pretty spooky. This is actually super spooky for Migo, for Gordeau here. Without a tech hit. Can boost Devourer to almost match speed. So if Migo has EX something, he doesn't have EX Cross though, is the problem. To attempt to match the speed of Polar. So Devourer reads +1 speed before +1 power for every 2 cards in the opponent's hand. So this will be a +1 speed +2 power boost. However, I'm not sure that matches the speed adequately. We saw reading come out here for Migo to try to mitigate the boost. And I guess that was Migo's best shot. Reading hits. It's the Grasp. Oh no, this has gone super poorly for Polar here. Migo gets the Grasp read and deals 8 damage with the sweep. Yep, there we go. Grasp, of course, misses, and then sweep will pull a card at random. Migo now has the choice to sustain Godlike if he so chooses. By spending 2 gauge. Of course, the sweep effect happens first. Sweeps a block out. That's second block down for Polar, as the first one was used to parry a Mortal Glide. Let's say Migo chooses to spend the 2 gauge here. So if he chooses to spend the 2 gauge to sustain Godlike, and he does, Turbulence is no longer a threat just yet. I don't know why I inflected my voice like that, because I ended my sentence, but we're going to see the Rebuild come out here. Yep, so rebuild will come. Notably, this does not add to gauge. I got this wrong. This apparently does not add to gauge if you don't remove an ice spike. Isn't that so jank? That's incredibly jank. Anyway, back to Migo here. Polar with the full reload, basically. Only down to 4 cards left in deck. And Migo, I believe, does have a second reading online. So this could be big. Migo could just end the game right here with a second reading. Also has the Fierce in play as well. Or, excuse me, the Godlike in play. We see the Turbulence boosted, +1 speed. Before, +1 power for every 2 cards in the opponent's hand. So this is now +5 power, +1 speed. Jesus Christ, Gordeau, building up the stats. Speed 7 Cross is looking like a real threat here. Speed 7 Cross deals with everything in Polar's deck, outside of the block and Ultra that Snow Slash is. I wonder if Migo would go for a cheeky range 2 spike here to counter the Snow Slash. We're going to see a tech come out, second copy of Dive down for the Devourer. Back to Migo here. Polar with 7 cards in hand, 3 cards left in deck. If we're looking for card counting to take place here, Migo has a good chance of knowing what types of cards are in Polar's hand at this point in time, as both players look at each other's discards here. Funnily enough, Polar just unable to lock down Gordeau onto an Ice Spike and hit cleanly. And Gordeau off to a huge life lead here, although Polar with his +3 power can make a comeback. You definitely can't rule Polar out. Ice Spikes are in decent spots. Migo were to escape to the other side of the board somehow, then that would be more trouble. Second reading coming out here from Migo. 70% chance to hit, basically. Maybe a little bit less or a little bit more depending on how good Kugath is. Assault hits. It's going to be the EX Assault, but it's going to be the Cross. 5 power. Kugath takes 4 damage and is stunned, down to 3 HP. 2 big impact readings here have turned this game completely on its head. And yeah, I mean, that's what happens when you don't reshuffle on reshuffle too late, or you don't even reshuffle. I guess I was gonna say reshuffle too late, but that's actually hasn't happened yet. Is that your hand gets sussed out? And Migo, I mean, these are not, obviously they're not 100% chance readings, but they're high probability readings, right? There are high probability readings. Assault, 2 copies of Assault left in this 10 card deck, so I mean, you do the math on that. Of course, Migo now a little bit low on cards. So Polar does have a strike here. Or an opportunity to strike here into a low hand Gordeau, but has a ton of life to make up. Notably, a Polar Plow looks pretty good here. Polar Plow... Actually, no, Polar Plow does not look good here, because Polar's only on 3 life. Polar Plow did look good until Migo took a huge life lead. But Polar Plow does like 8 damage or something, 7 damage. 7 damage sweep. We're going to see the Overpower come out on the Polar Plow. +2 power, now strike. Fastest option is for Polar would be like speed. Oh, we're actually going to see EX come out. So is it EX Shovel Slam or EX Snow Slash? That's an interesting mix up there. I'm not sure Migo can deal with both of them. One beats Spike, one loses to Spike. This will be a speed 5. Speed 5 guarded option. Notably, Shovel Slam only does... I mean, it does 8 damage because of the Overpower. Snow Slash would do 6 damage with the Overpower. Neither of these Ultras can force an Ice Spike pop. Because Shovel Slam removes an adjacent Ice Spike to push or pull 1. But because Migo's in a corner, there are no 2 adjacent Ice Spikes to him, so he's totally fine on that. Notably, Shovel Slam can set up the next strike. Let's see how Migo handles this threat. Does he have a block in hand? Block looks pretty good here, actually, with the amount of resources that Polar spent into this, especially if it's the Ultra, then that looks really good. Maintain the health lead. Polar only on 2 cards left in hand. Couple preps come back, and both players are back online as far as cards in hand are concerned. Okay, Migo has the block, so damage will be mitigated. It is the Shovel Slam, so Shovel Slam costs an additional force to use as well. So it'll be an 8 power Shovel Slam. Let's see if... So on hits, Polar can remove an Ice Spike to push or pull 1. She probably should do... Actually, if he does that, if he puts Gordeau here, then Gordeau has a chance to escape with a Respect. Okay. So that Ice Spike will be removed. This will be an 8 power Shovel Slam coming down. The After on the UA will place an Ice Spike here. I feel like an Ice Spike should have been placed here for anti-respect. Actually, Migo doesn't have any cards left in hand, funnily enough. This will be 6 damage so far mitigated by Migo. Is Migo going to take the 2? Maybe a big CC come out? He's thinking about it. He's mousing over it. Yep, takes the 2 damage. Migo now on an Ice Spike. However, is there a role where Migo just spends 4 gauge to leave? Gordeau only has 7 cards left in his deck. Polar has no above curve options. No, Migo just prepares. Chooses to maintain the 4 gauge, which is an interesting choice. I don't know why Migo prepared over change cards. Maybe he doesn't want his... Maybe there's a reading left in Polar's deck, and Migo doesn't want to telegraph a big hand and says, okay, reading's going to be my lost condition. Polar finally takes the reshuffle action. So Migo flips all his cards back online. Gordeau with a bunch of gauge here. We're going to see, yep, there's the Respect come out. Migo drew it. Respect out of the corner, on the long side of the board, away from all the Ice Spikes. And Polar's going to have to do some catch-up work here. This is huge advantage, Gordeau, in my opinion. Huge advantage. How will Polar catch up? If I had to guess, some combination of Overpower and Ice Spikes. We're going to see the Avalanche boosted. This is a boost I've never seen before. Moving an Ice Spike up to 3 spaces, then you may spend 1 gauge if you do take another action. Did not know this existed, honestly. I've never boosted Shovel Drop before. Spends a focus in hand to do so. So, Polar not keen on reading just yet. Will Polar spend a gauge to take another action? Notably, he won't. Notably, what I was going to say is that we know that the Shovel Drop was the card that Polar drew off the top. So Polar has only 1 card that he has drawn from his new deck, and 1 card from the old deck. Which definitely limits hand information for now. Or actually, not limits. Restricts kind of what kind of pairs of cards Polar has in his hand right now. VO comes out from Gordeau. So we'll take a look at Gordeau backside. The opponent must spend 1 force if able to take another action. So for 1 gauge, Gordeau... Oh my, a strike come out. That is unexpected. This is... I feel like this is probably just going to be the top deck. Whatever Polar drew. Migo standing on an Ice Spike, so this could be big. This could be big damage. Migo has only 1 card left in his deck. Doesn't look like he likes it very much. Down... I feel like he has an on-curve Assault left, does Migo. I have a feeling he does, but maybe just 1. Is the Ice Spike. It is the on-curve Shovel Drop. Well drawn there from Polar. Migo will take 6 damage. Polar will draw an additional card, then push up to 2. Draw a card for each ice spike the opponent is pushed onto with the movement as well. So how much will Polar push here? Polar chooses range 2. Obviously gets to draw a card and look at that card first before picking the range. And then we'll place an ice spike at range 1. Back to Migo here. Migo can spend his 5 gauge to force Gordeau to discard all of his gauge and hands. And then make a big CC here. Okay, there goes the first expenditure. Gordeau forces Polar to spend a force here. Shovel charge down, excuse me. Migo will now consider spending another. Looking at that Snow Slash at 2 gauge Ultra, Migo will spend 3 force here, not wasting any time. So Kugath here, excuse me, forgot their name for a second because they are Thanos in the server. Kugath must spend 3 force here, of course, 1 at a time. So you can't spend this Ultra as 2 force for the ability. So Kugath must discard 3 cards from his hand or his gauge. Migo keeping the 1 gauge for now. Probably waiting to see what card or cards Polar discards from his hand. Polar spends a Snow Slash and the 2 gauge. So Snow Slash notably was probably the card from the deck. So this is the top deck and it was a top deck spike as well. So now Migo has forced Gordeau to basically Wild Swing if he wants. It's going to be a mix-up, going to range 3, and then striking from hand. I believe there's an Assault left in there. And then, of course, a draw 1 after setting your attack. So Polar forced to Wild Swing here. And it is the Assault into the Spike. Wild Swing Spike not going to do it. Migo on curve, taking game 1 with a couple of crucial readings there. Which swung the game hugely in Gordeau's favor. Only 10 HP for Migo because, of course, Polar does a billion damage with Ice Spikes. And Polar could have made a comeback, however, Gordeau sapping the literal cards out of Polar's hand and gauge at the end there with the Exceed Gordeau ability. And taking game 1, we have Akuma, Propeller, and Jin left on Migo's roster. And for Kugath, we have, alongside the Polar, we have the Claw, the Arcune, and the Merkava. So this guy likes to play janky characters, I'm assuming. Janky characters in Polar, I guess. Actually, a big fan of this guy's roster. But Migo takes game number 1. Reminder, this is a best of 3 set. Only need 2 games to win. Migo can no longer play Gordeau for the rest of the week. And let's see what comes out. I mean, so Migo plays a lot of Akuma, a lot of Jin, plays it's not significantly, but slightly less Propeller. Kugath, I have no idea. This is my first time seeing Kugath play him, actually. And he actually did pretty well outside of just being vulnerable to reading was his one big mistake. And to be fair, I mean, they're not 100% readings, but they were pretty high probability readings, especially the second one. And we're gonna see the Jin come out from Migo against the Claw come out from Kugath. Claw is, of course, my mortal nemesis. I'm like 1 in 15 lifetime against Claw or something like that. Can't beat this character for some reason. I don't know why. Just have a mental block or something. Just his very unique style of set play. Something that my brain hates. I always forget the range on Claw. You know, that kind of thing. But Jin has been Migo's kind of rock as of late. Brought Jin to his last tournament where he placed top 4. Before losing to Calavantis, I believe, in the semifinals. We'll take a look at Jin's UA here. When you set your attack, you may spend 1 gauge to gain after draw 2. Exceed side Jin draws a billion cards, forces discard effects similar to Gordeau. We'll take a look at the kit here. We got a DP, we've got a speed 5 dive, we've got a mid speed, we've got a guarded fireball, and we've got that. Take a look at Vega here as Migo draws his whole deck. Jin doesn't draw that many cards. I mean, sure feels like it though. And we'll take a look at Vega here. Claw. If you're at the edge of the arena when you set your attack, your specials and ultras have +2 power. So we'll take a look at the cards here. We have a relatively fast card here. When you crit it, it's a 6 speed. It's a 6 speed range 4. This looks like the mulligan phase is happening. We Flying Barcelona, which basically just goes from here, and he jumps all the way across the board with that before ability. Sky High Claw is a kind of mid-speed shape, which has a bunch of power, no defenses on it. We'll see Vega boost Assault, retreat up to 4, takes the corner here, so of course the Vega UA now online. Take a look at Pounce. Pounce is a super sweep, basically, such a good card. And RCF is the fast option that Vega can throw from the corner. On top of that, Ultras are Dive Ultra with 7 power. This Ultra is Claw. We'll take a look at Claw. +0 to 1 range, your attacks are critical. As we see Jin boost Run going to range 3. Claw, this is like the flagship Vega boost. Flagship? That's not the right word. That's not the word I wanted to use, but that's the word that came out. So we're just gonna roll with it. +0 to 1 range, and your attacks are critical. Notably, spends a force to play it, spend a force to sustain it as well. So Vega can be a character that is a little tight on resources. Very, very interesting resource game Vega has on whether he wants to spend his gauge to exceed, whether he wants to spend his gauge for his ultras, whether he wants to spend his gauge as force. Some very, very interesting decisions you can make here as Vega. Vega can initiate here with +2 power. Unfortunately, without any critical options available, they're all very slow. So Scarlet's Hair speed 4. Sky High speed 3. Pounce, of course, still a good, decent card here. As we see Vega just prepare. Back to Jin here. Oops, sorry, let's center our board. We're going to see a strike come out from Jin, first strike of the game. Range 3 mix-up here. Does Jin have any interesting kicks to it? Jin can Ice Blade, I guess. Or Speed 5 Dive with a Crystal Strike. But other than that, range 3 mix-up here. It's going to be the Speed 4 Dive on defense. Did not expect to see that. Beating the range 3 sweep from Jin. Vega dives to the center of the board, which is not something you see super often. And deals 5 damage to Jin, taking an early lead. Jin spending the sweep on that as well. Wow. Not often do you see a range 3 dive on defense from Vega, but specifically calling out those options. So we're going to see the Flying Barcelona boosted as Wall Leap, advance as far as possible. Vega takes corner again. Pretty standard Vega stuff. Although you generally don't see Wall Leap boosted this early, I feel like. But Vega obviously, or Kugath obviously very much valuing that. We're going to see a parry come out from Jin. Wonder what the parry target will be. Parry target will be the Pounce. Hate this card. So strong. I mean, 7 power, 2 armor, 4 guard, sweep effect. Hits 1 to 4. Hits 1 to 5 with Claw. Insane card. Absolutely insane card. So no surprise there that Migo has chosen to parry it. Also a pretty valuable part of the Vega corner mix-up as well from close range. So we're going to see a parry in turn from Vega. I would like to see Vega maybe parry a Mood Song. Parry misses. We're going to see a hand of Focus, Dual Ice, Permafrost, Ice Fang, Moonsong here from Jin. It's not the best looking hand at range 3, which is where we currently stand. In fact, none of these options hits. Flying Ice Strike, we look at this boost. This boost is insane against Vega. Watch out for that. Watch out for this. Where is it? The opponent cannot move? That boost seems insane against Vega. Look at all of Vega. Vega is all just a bunch of moves, right? Before close 2, advance as far as possible. Before close 3, before close 5, before close 3, right? Vega's effective range comes from closing movement. So Flying Ice Strike can shut down a lot of Vega for a turn. On top of that, Flying Ice Strike, as we see the Permafrost boosted, notably Migo keeping that known focus in hand, so reading is possible from Kugath here. But if we take a look at this boost, adds the gauge at the end of your next turn. So I believe Gravity Seed, which is the boost that Nu has, adds the gauge at the start of turn. Jin's adds the gauge at end of turn. This boost is wild. This boost is absolutely insane. Into a Vega? Doubly so. Doubly so, because its effective range is predicated by closing or advancing. So Migo, if he boosts this and it doesn't get teched on Vega's turn, Migo has a free turn to strike, and Vega just has to sit there and take it, right? That's definitely something we're going to be looking out for in this matchup. Anyway, we see the cool under pressure boosted from Jin, +4 guard, now draw 2. Migo drawing up to a full hand of 7. Vega prepares in turn, back to Jin. Jin with the Moon Song, +2 speed, now strike at range 3. Discards the known focus in hand. If I had to guess, probably just playing Spike, although Spike can be countered by the Scarlet Terror. So we have a little bit of an Assault Spike mix up here. Vega can answer both of these, one with the critical Scarlet Terror, the other one with just a simple sweep, or focus, or pounce. Let's see if Vega is able to call this mix up correctly. Could also be technically a dive from Migo at speed 6, which would beat the Scarlet Terror, and deal 1 more damage than the Assault, but won't gain advantage. Vega with the Wild Swing, that's not good. It's going to be the on-curve Spike, outspeeding, or speed matching the Assault, dealing 5 damage for Jin. Jin on the board here. Saying, okay, I'm totally fine if you spend a gauge for crit Scarlet Terror. Vega obviously not gonna crit on that because Vega's a character pretty starved for resources anyway. Jin also, I did suggest that dive would be a combat option, but we really want to be saving our dives for Claw. Or Light, I guess. So back to Vega here, who has a full hand. Notably, Jin did have 1 copy of Power of Order in hand, so if Vega does something to pass turn, I do foresee Jin boosting a Power of Order on his turn, forcing Vega to discard 3 cards. And by pass turn, I mean not a pass turn, I mean an action that's not a strike from Vega. Vega can't even strike here, and Vega can strike here. Notably, second Assault down for Vega, which means no more backstep in play either. Sorry, we're just jumping all over the place here with the commentary. It is late, but hopefully my thoughts are coming out coherently, as I do have a lot of random thoughts popping about this matchup coming up for sure, especially because I'm not really a Jin player and I'm definitely not a Vega player. But so the thoughts on the matchup will come sporadically and randomly. So there you go. Back to Vega here. Vega initiating a strike with a crit. We're looking at speed 6 Scarlet Terror. We're looking at speed 3 Sky High Claw. We're looking at a potential fake, and we're looking at pounce. Are the potential critical options that hit here. Jin bets against the Sky High Claw and nails it. So Crystal Strike, pretty low impact card into both Pounce and the Scarlet Terror, but Mio gets the read on the Sky High Claw and hits the Crystal Strike for 3 damage before close 3, hit push 1. Vega with Sky High Claw, no defenses, a little bit risky there, but it's a mid speed that does 8 damage with the ability. Yep, there's the Power of Order as we predicted. Mio gets to discard a card from hand to pay for this as well, and we'll draw 3 cards off it. Vega will be forced to discard 2 cards from his hand. And Jin will draw 3 plus 1 for end of turn. As we predicted. Notably discards the Flying Ice Strike, which we thought would be an insane boost into Vega, but Migo clearly doesn't value it as much. Vega discards a Claw? What cards do you think Kugath has in hand that he would discard a Claw, as we see a strike come out from Vega? No crit, but still has the +2 power. Which is going to be Grasp. It is the Focus from initiated by Vega. Decent read there. Vega takes 1, Jin takes 4. But I'm shocked to see the Claw go. This boost, to me, this boost defines Vega. I mean, this and the UA are the 2 things that define Vega, so I'm shocked to see Claw get discarded there. Maybe Kugath has a second Claw. And he thinks that 1 is good enough before, or they think that 1 is good enough before reshuffle time. Jin prepares, back to Vega. Vega boosts Wall Leap. Second copy of Flying Barcelona down. Interestingly enough, we look at this board state, and nothing hits besides the Flying Barcelona on this side of the board as Vega, so that's an interesting decision to spend second Flying Barcelona to move to the other side like that. Vega clearly uncomfortable at range 1 to do so, seeing how he already had the corner, but Wall Leap's the other one. Notably, Vega still has options on his turn because of Repel Leap. So we'll take a look at Repel Leap. If you're at the edge of the arena, move to any space and strike. And if you do, you gain your ability's power and speed bonuses during the strike. So basically this means that Repel Leap moves Vega wherever he wants, and then his strike will have +2 power, regardless of whether it's a special or ultra and or normal. So this +2 power boost will be working on normals as well. So that is an option. Vega does not have to strike from the corner here. Notably, Jin has an Ice Fang that hits here, while Vega has nothing that hits, so this is an interesting decision. If Vega were to boost Claw, then we can take a look at RCF, and RCF closes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and hits. Jin actually going to spend 2 force in the form of the Assault and another card, did not catch which what the second card is, to move to range 5. Jin has an Ice Blade, which hits add speed 3. So we see the Mask boosted from Vega, +1 power, +1 armor. You may notice this, you may recognize this as both halves of Wagner's Ultra Boosts. Back to Migo here. Notably, Migo, I think, just looking at cards that would hit the Ice Blade. And we're looking at not that. This hits Ice Blade, would trade with it 5 for 4. But Vega would be in the middle of nowhere. Scarlet Terror misses, Sky High Claw misses. This is our only threat that we're looking at. RCF at speed 6. Actually, RCF, okay. RCF with the Mask would actually pop the Ice Blade, which has only 5 guard, which is why Migo boosts defend here at range 5. Heavily telegraphing the ice that he's totally okay with the Ice Blade trade. And I think I would be too at this position. As the second spike down for Jin as well, just to note. So no more preemptive spikes coming until post-reshuffle from Migo. Vega prepares, back to Jin here. Notably, the RCF for Ice Blade trade is not fantastic as far as health is concerned. The Ice Blade will only do 3 damage to Vega, and Vega would deal 5 damage to Jin. But the positioning is super important, especially with Vega's 2 assaults down, and what else? 2 Flying Barcelonas down as well. We see the Pinpoint Strike come out from Migo here. Now Strike, hit +1 power, you may advance to retreat 1, gain advantage. We're going to see Migo spend a block from hand for this boost. Range 5, so the only thing that hits again is that Ice Blade. We'll take a look at the card once more. 2 to 5, 4, 3, 5. Hit, close up to 2, then draw 1. Decent shape. Decent guarded fireball with optional movement as well on hits. As well as card replacement. Decent card there. Decent card there for sure. Tack on a gain advantage for it as well. Notably, Migo did not boost his UA with it for an after draw 2. We'll be getting advantage, so maybe we'll just prep with the advantage. Maybe he even has second power of order in his hand to to equalize hand sizes here. Let's see if Vega has the RCF. Vega has focus just to mitigate some damage. This will be a 2-power Ice Blade, or 2-power net into the 3 armor of Vega. Vega will draw a card, of course. Both players will draw a card, actually. Vega continues to maintain corner. Jin can close up to 2, then draw 1. Let's see. Jin doesn't really have a card at range 5 outside of Ice Blade and Ice Fang, so maybe I do expect him to move in just a tad. Although moving in a tad does mean that he exposes himself to these other threats, right? Moves in 3, of course, can do so because of the pinpoint strike. Will gain advantage. Moves to range 2, Jin's preferred range. Why does Migo move there? There you go. Migo corrects himself, of course, because he doesn't want to get hit back by focus. Okay, focus will miss. Draw a card. Second reading down for Vega. Will Vega sustain the mask? Costs 1 force to do so. Jin at range 3 with advantage here. Yeah, I wonder why Migo didn't... if Migo didn't tack on a draw 2, I think he might be planning on exceeding this turn. Vega drops the spike to sustain mask. Is Migo thinking of exceeding this turn? Exceeding is pretty scary into a world with 2 Scarlet Terrors up at speed 6. At range 3. EX Scarlet Terror functions at speed 7. So that's basically an not an unbeatable, but a very nasty option to deal with. Would also be power 7 for 1 gauge. Would be a 1 to 2, close to 7/7 for 1 gauge. Not bad. Jin going for the OD. We'll take a look at Jin OD here when you see draw 2. And there it is. On each overdrive trigger, Jin will draw 1 card. Don't know what's being tracked there, but on hit, Jin will force the opponent to discard a card and gains after draw 1 on all of his strikes as well. Jin draws a billion cards, and sometimes forces the opponent to discard his cards. There you go. That's what the overdrive is. Pretty simple. You pretty much always get value out of it as Jin, compared to Ragna, who Ragna might not necessarily get value out of it, might actually get negative value. But Jin always gets value on his UA. Okay, we're going to see the light boosted from Vega, now threatening some of the more mid-speed options that he has. Overdrive goes up, Jin draws 1. Jin with a full hand here. Striking into a +2 speed is pretty scary, though. Believe both dives are down, though. No, 1 dive might be up. Don't know about the spike situation either. And we know what that 1 spike was spent just now. Don't remember anything about the second one. I don't think Jin plays Moonsong here to match speed. Moonsong is definitely way better when you don't use it to match speed. When you use it to get +2. So I don't expect that option to come out from Migo. How's Migo going to deal with Vega's Light here? Light was actually a super good response to the Exceed, in my opinion, just for that reason. Is there one where Migo reads, maybe? 10 cards left in Vega's deck, so the reading is not... It's not nearly as good as the last couple readings were. No, we're going to see Jin just tech the speed. Back to Vega here. Vega initiates a strike at range 3, no critical, however. No critical's huge, because now we're just looking at an Assault Dive Spike mix-up for the most part. Right. These cards basically all need crit to function. I guess Pounce kind of doesn't, but at 4 guard, that's not looking too fantastic. No crit is definitely a decision. But Vega feeling a little bit starved for resources here. Has only 1 gauge. Migo going to respond on curve with a Crystal Strike, beating out the second dive. Stuns out the mask as well. Vega takes 2 damage. Still in the corner, but no resources left to the name. Mask drops. And of course the hit effect goes off. Jin will draw a card, and Vega will discard a card. And resource game looking strongly in Jin's favor here. Strongly in Jin's favor. Second claw gets discarded from Vega. Migo no longer has to worry about, in my opinion, the biggest boost threat in the kit. Overdrive goes off for Migo, draws 1. Will almost assuredly strike here. Both dives down now, so strike with like a sweep looks pretty good here. Strike with a slow, maybe a dual eye strike. Obviously still has the fast slow mix up online. Dual eye strike, just a good looking strike just because it gains advantage. We'll lose to the grasp, however. But both dives down now for Vega. To get out of the corner from the slows. Migo initiates strike here. Vega with only 3 cards left in hand. We'll probably have to discard 1 if Jin hits. Big advantage Jin here. Big advantage. I don't know how Vega comes back from this. The Jin pressure will definitely be too strong over the next couple turns. Vega with the Wild Swing. It's going to be a Wild Swing Scarlet Terror, which will hit first for 2 damage. Of course. Dual Eye Strike will hit back for 3. Push against the arena, and Jin will gain advantage and draw 1. And Vega will be forced to discard a card from hand. And Jin will draw 1. Vega discards the last Ultra. Mask no longer in play. Until reshuffle, of course. Vega with only 2 cards left in his hand. Jin OD goes off. 1 more left. Jin draws a card. Will almost assuredly strike again. Probably gain advantage off it as well. But Migo actually knows this is actually just his entire deck. So I believe there's a second pinpoint left. To tack on advantage if he so chooses. Can probably go pinpoint slow here. Pinpoint sweep. Is looking pretty decent here. And there's the pinpoint. So, of course, Migo, if he hits, will gain advantage. Yeah, pinpoint sweep looks really good here. Looks exceptionally good. I wonder if Vega crit Wild Swings against if he thinks the sweep is coming. Crit Wild Swing for a Sky High? Might need to. I don't know. That seems a little too much, though. It's going to be the strike from hand for Migo. Kugath looking at his discard, trying to see what his Wild Swing odds are like. Migo will be gaining advantage off this if he hits. Will force an opponent discard. Will draw 1 if he's not stunned. Classic Jin. Very, very classic Jin. Notably, sweep is not completely safe here. Will lose if Vega chooses to play crit Sky High Claw. So maybe it's not sweep for that reason. We're going to see a strike here from hand. It's going to be the Grasp. Jin plays his own Grasp. So that's going to be a 4-power Grasp from Migo. Can unearth Vega from the corner if he wants. Will do so. Pulls 2. Migo may advance or retreat 1 and gains advantage. Will retreat 1, going to range 3. We are in Moonsong territory now. Migo will draw his last card. Reverts. And surely Moonsong comes out here against an empty Vega hand. There's the strike. Wild Swing for Vega. It is a block. That's nice. So Vega not dead. Of course, Moonsong gains advantage. So we 6-power Moonsong. Will Vega spend 1 gauge or 2? Vega spends 1 gauge, and we'll take the block back. We'll spend the 2nd gauge. Vega takes 0 damage. It is Jin's advantage, however. Mio checking for specific threats, maybe thinking of playing an on-curve or under-curve option, slightly under-curve option. Okay, Jin will now strike. Assault, probably. Assault into the pounce, funnily enough. Assault will deal 4 damage, of course, because this pounce was not crits. And then Vega will do 4 damage back to Jin. Vega will sweep a card out of Jin's hand. Takes the cross. But we are going to be doing it again. This is Jin's like 5th turn in a row or something. Time for another Jin strike, almost assuredly. Ego taking a look at threats. Second pounce now down. Yep, Jin initiates a strike here. Nobody, I think this one can't gain advantage. It's going to be a sweep into the Scarlet Terror. Scarlet Terror will hit first for 3 damage, and sweep will hit back for lethal. Migo takes this at 2-0. This game was particularly convincing, I think, for Jin. Jin just able to outvalue Vega so hard. Vega never really got going after the first strike. Early Power of Order as well. Able to kind of deplete Vega's hand, and Vega never really recovered as far as resources were concerned. And then the Jin OD just finished the job. And Migo looking pretty good here as he wins his at 2-0. Kugath will be moving to 0-1. Don't worry about that. Of course, this is a Swiss format. I always say that, so I feel like don't need to say anymore. We'll just end the video here. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed the content. If you did, feel free to hit the like. Feel free to hit the subscribe. Feel free to hit the bell. Feel free to comment if you have something to say. I'm always willing to listen to it. I really do enjoy the interaction with the community. But we will see you for the next one. This was last week 1 match, so week 2 matchups will be coming very soon for Chimera Summer Bash. And that's certainly exciting. But until then, we will see you for the next one. Alright guys, take care. Bye-bye.